And as it is today, I'll do this every time just so you know where my numbers are at and if I'm hitting problems. I am still, just so you know, a little suspicious this 99. Like I keep doing stuff, whether it's adding vacations, adding it up, or even what I'm going to do today, and it still keeps saying 99. But I've been drilling in, I've been poking around, and I haven't seen anything where expenses have dropped radically or anything like that. Um, so let's dive in. So when is a bad day in the market a good day for you? So Friday, this past Friday, I saw the market start to go down. Nothing crazy, and and I kind of thought about it and said, how many times has the market gone down and I just don't really care? But there's a reason I don't care, and that's because I'm secure in my plan. So last Friday, I said, you know what? Let me just look and see, because it was a fairly big hit. Let me see what happens when the market goes down. And then, because most of my funds are price at market close. And so, what happens when it goes down? Like I don't know, 1% or whatever. You'll see whatever happened last Friday, and then work it through. And part of the reason for this video is I've gotten into discussions of people and they ask like, well, what should my portfolio be, before retirement? And I kind of give the same answer, and that is what would your reaction be, or what is the market number that if you're heavily invested in equities and the market goes down, what is the number that would prevent you from retiring, right? That to me is the key number for me. Now that I'm in retirement, it's more about what numbers make me panic and what numbers would just kind of make me change my spending behavior in a bad way. But a lot of people, that's the answer I give to them. I'm like, go in, pretend that the market hit, you lost 20% in the market and on a day, and then would that stop you from retiring? And if it would, then as long as you don't mind, as long as you're like, hey, I love my job and I want to keep going, then you don't have to. Then you could probably stay in the same, the equity portfolio that you're in. But what I wanted to do Friday, true to form, is I wanted to, between Friday and Tuesday at the end of Labor Day, I wanted to kind of lay out a real percentage rate, how it went down, and model kind of how would that number impact me and my plan, and how could I model that? So you'll see this was last Friday. I had a balance of, and this is just my stuff in my for my IRA. So I got 1,530,000. Next here, you'll see CNN. This was the close of the market as of Friday. You'll see the S&P went down 0.69, the Nasdaq went down 1.15. So I thought that was a fair amount. I mean, it's a pretty what's the word I'm looking for? It's a pretty volatile market right now. But so on Tuesday I went in and checked out my market values, and you could see. So with these percentage losses, 0.69 in the S&P 500 and 1.15 in the Nasdaq, it looks like I lost $6,500. So clearly that tells you I'm not super heavily invested in equities. I mean, I still have quite a bit invest in equities, but not too terribly much. So that number alone never shocks me. Like I've seen this number go down 2-3%, and clearly $7,000 is not going to rattle me. And you can look back to some of my other videos to show you how my portfolio is laid out. But that doesn't really bother me that much. So what I did is I said, well, and this became a test for me. You could follow the same procedure if you want to like test your tolerance for how you have your portfolio balanced. But I said, what if this number was 20 times that? So what would and obviously it wouldn't be happy. What do they say? They say the feeling of market loss is like 10 times worse. They did some studies, it may be more than this, than the feelings you get from market gains. And what is this saying? A bull a bull goes up the stairs and a bear jumps out the window. I think that's what it is, something like that. Um, Actually, that's kind of silly, right? Like, what is a bull market when it goes up and a bear market when it goes down? I think that's right. So anyhow, so I don't really care. It's like terms, but okay. So what I did is I said, how would I feel? This is kind of me testing myself, and then you could go through the same process with you, especially pre-retirement. It's really important pre-retirement because I honestly can't think of anything worse than having my plan laid out and everything is great and I'm going to retire in 6 months. And then we have a big downturn in the market for a year. And because of that, I have to work another year. I think that would just be devastating for me. I mean, but you all know my history. Like, I just didn't enjoy my job that much. So what I did essentially, it was pretty easy, right? All I did was I said, if it's 20 times worse, then take my loss, 6,568, and multiply it by 20. Now you think about that. 20 times 1.15%, that's probably a 30% loss. 20 on the NASDAQ, 20 times 0.70 is probably a 15% loss on the S&P 500. So that's a pretty significant loss in a day. So then that gave me 1,131,000, which I just looked at and said, well, what would that be? F2 tells you what formulas are in there. What would that be? What would my current portfolio be if instead of dropping this much, I dropped 20 times that, and it'd be 1,392,000, which is still pretty comfortable for me. But what's this channel about? Modeling and planning. So my next question was, well, how do I plan something like that? So of course, where did I go? That's right. I went back to Bolden. And first thing I did is I wanted to go to my accounts and assets and I wanted to delink them. And then I wanted to actually put that number in, that delta number, the 1,392,000. But before I did that, I said, let me check and see what things are variables across different, or what things are fixed across across the different scenarios. And I found out that account linking is one of them. So I didn't delink. But Bolden had a pretty good help suggestion. So what they said is if you want to model a reduction in something, then the best thing to do is do a distribution, which would make sense. It'd be like me going out and buying a $131,000 car or something like that. That money would be gone. I'd have no asset. I mean, Bolden would think I had no assets and it would recalibrate the percentage. So that's what I did. And I'll show you how I did it. So I went into big loss on one day. I went to expenses in healthcare. I went into one-time expenses. And what I did was I created a one-time expense that came out of my IRA for that amount, which was, I believe that's right, 131,360. So I did that, hit save. I said, when was I going to do it? 58 and 4 months, which really, it doesn't really matter. It could be 58 and 6 months. It could be, as long as, you don't want to, yeah, it doesn't really matter. As long as it's not too far out in the future, because you'd want to model it happening now. Actually, 58 and 4 months. Maybe, let me make sure I wouldn't do it in May. I would do it. Let's make sure it didn't already count that. So I'm going to do it in October. Okay. So let's see what happens. Mainly, this is all I really care about. Let's go to the overview. So if you go to the overview, you'll see that even though I took out $131,000, that I still have a 99%. So that makes me feel really good about it, right? So what that means is I could take that loss and my percentage wouldn't go down at all. So that is just one way where you can take a bad day on the market and turn it into a good day for you by kind of taking that market analysis, applying it to your plan, or even better yet, taking that market analysis and multiply it times 20 and see how would you deal with that, because the markets can go down 20% at times. So hang in there, keep trucking. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you, so you could kind of model out what would happen and start to actually look at your risk tolerance of how you want your portfolio balanced and where you want equities versus bonds and stuff like that. So thanks again for listening or watching, and I appreciate it. Have yourself a great day.